Good afternoon. Welcome to the Reason We Learn supporter live stream. Today, I'm going to be talking about how the war on terror, as it is currently manifesting, threatens our rights as homeschoolers. Um, One of the things that I showed you in the I'm trying to think where I downloaded it. So hang on a second. Let me grab it. Um, in the title or the thumbnail for this show was an image of a madrasa and a post on Memory, which is a Middle East. It's like a Middle East news source that covers the Middle East, and it was this. Hold on, let me show you. Hopefully, this will work for the screen share. There it is. See what's so great about this platform instead of the other one. So as you can see here, this is a post on Twitter, and it says, Colorado imam teaches children at mosque Jews cannot be trusted. Allah turned Jewish fishermen into monkeys. The Jews killed their prophets and tried to kill Jesus. Hashtag anti-Semitism. And it obviously is. And it's being done in a Colorado mosque. So you might be wondering, well, what does this have to do with schooling? Well, they're in, Sunday school, or whatever school you want to call it. And the point is that this is it's a reasonable conclusion that it is also going on in the madrasas, So that means private schooling. So let me get rid of this. Okay. And you might think, well, so what, Deb? If it's happening in a private school, what do we care? Well, what are homeschools? Really, they're private schools. They're private schools of one family, possibly more. Possibly it's a little co-op, classical conversations, or it's you and three other families. Whatever it is, it's private and it's school, just like a madrasa. And right now, we have the push for school choice, vouchers, ESAs, things that will give individual parents and schools, madrasas included, access to what they call school dollars. Some people call public monies. I call filthy lucre stolen from taxpayers, but that's what they are. Those dollars, believe it or not, even the ones they literally manufacture by printing them out of thin air and are backed by nothing because it's debt, all of it ultimately is on our backs to pay back. That debt shows up as that hidden tax of inflation. That debt shows up as a burden our children will bear because they're not going to be able to own a home, because by the time they get done paying all the taxes and the fees and the this and the that, they're not going to be able to, unless they're making a lot of money. They're already struggling to rent and leave our homes. So all that money that they're calling school dollars, education dollars, money being fungible, it's your dollars. Yours and mine and every other taxpayer in America, even people who aren't citizens, anybody who pays taxes in America, that's who the money belongs to. So when they redistribute it and they create a scheme to redistribute it to private individuals, be they a director of a school or a family, that's what they're doing. They're simply changing where the government is going to direct not just the money, but their oversight of the spending of the money. And of late, we have seen, and I'm going to be talking about Ron DeSantis as an example tonight, we've seen politicians, in particular at the moment on the right, saying we can't have this kind of anti-Semitic rhetoric, etc., on our campuses. And I'm going to explain tonight how he's correct in a socialist system, that he has the authority to say that because of the money, and he can shut down whatever he wants. But then along can come someone else and shut down something else that other people like. So anyway, point being, Governments don't ever increase freedom by any law for any individual. They make a law, they make a regulation, they even spend money on something, and you accept them. You take the money or you allow that into your world, and they have just bought themselves control over you. So, the war on terror, so called, threatens homeschooling, not just via school choice, but especially via school choice. So, school choice gives them an easy path, super easy. But we don't have school choice everywhere right now, where it would come in on the heels of, oh, you want to access homeschooler to some of this tax money that we took from you and other people so that you can defray the cost of either staying home so you can homeschool or buying the curriculum or putting your kid in co-op or whatever it is you're going to do. Well, here's all the regulations up to and including you have to be background checked and you can't teach these 10 things and so on and so forth, to the point where you start to realize that it's a wash, that for you to homeschool is almost 100% loss, in the sense that, you would stay home and you'd be doing all the labor yourself and you're effectively still doing the government's bidding. So what are you gaining? They're looking over your shoulder at every moment. They're asking you for, fingerprints and blood samples and constant background checks and constant standardized tests and who knows what else. Not to mention, want to review all of your curriculum or you have to choose from these, 10 approved things. Well, then what is the point? What's the point? You might as well go to work. The government's decided they're going to raise your kids. So that's just the state of the state with school choice as it is. That's the risk. But you add to the risk when you start having restrictions on, what you want someone else to teach, because it's, that's a terrible thing. Jews can't be trusted. Allah turned it. But do you deny that there are people right now homeschooling who are teaching their children that atheists can't be trusted, that non-Christians can't be trusted, that people who are gay can't be trusted? And I mean, I'm just pulling the can't be trusted because of this particular comment or the lesson that these kids are being taught in the madrasa. Whatever it is, there's someone out there right now in a homeschool teaching it. And if you can justify, or if anyone can justify war on terror regulations about, like Ron DeSantis, like we can't have people, preaching these bad ideas on our campus at Florida State or whatever, or we can't have this club or this organization, or we can't have children or people being taught these bad ideas using government dollars. There's no end to that. What is the next bad idea they don't want taught? John Oliver, as we discussed in my show last week, John Oliver thinks Christianity itself, just teaching your kids Christianity in your homeschool is terrible. If you want to teach new, the young earth ideas in your science curriculum at your homeschool, and that's your business, right? I don't believe in that. I don't agree with it, but I will not support a law against you doing it. Because the minute I give the government that kind of power over you, the individual, it's the same exact power to come to me and say, I can't teach Ayn Rand in my homeschool. I can't teach my skepticism in my school, whatever. It just is a matter of who won an election after that. So, and I'm going to get into that tonight in more detail about the Ron DeSantis, but I want to speak just to homeschoolers right now, or people interested in homeschooling or concerned about the rights of people to homeschool, that, be careful. We already have seen with the so-called war on terror. We got the Patriot Act. We have FISA warrants. We have, forget the FISA warrants. We have warrantless, surveillance going on that Edward Snowden told us about with the NSA. We know what they're listening to. We know what they're looking at. They're probably listening to me right now. And we also know that under this current administration that claims to be also fired up and concerned about people's civil rights, the rights of trans people, et cetera, that's their, bailiwick right now. They have designated parents who show up to school board meetings and protest their schools as designated as domestic terrorists. So people seem to think, the war on terror, it's Muslims. saying crazy things about Jews or saying crazy things about Christians or saying crazy things about the West or saying crazy things about America. They want to destroy America. They want to teach their kids. That's a horrible thing that they're teaching their children. And we definitely need to know that they're doing it and pay attention and not allow our own children to be infected with those ideas, and to push for the financial isolation of those ideas truly into the private sector. Make them pay for it themselves. But the minute you start asking for money out of the government coffer, as opposed to don't take mine in the first place to use for even me, it can go to that, and it endows the government with the power to control that. And whatever they control of the people you don't like, they can come back and control you. So right now we are in a precarious position because, we're all very worried about these protests and everything going on in these college campuses and what kind of violence could be incited from them. But unless and until until they specifically say, go kill people. And I've heard some are, in which case they should be arrested. Anybody explicitly calling for violence or action to be taken against any actual individual or even group of individuals on a college campus or outside the college campus should be investigated, and that evidence potentially used to restrict their mobility and their activities as incitement. Because that is against the law, because that puts individuals at risk. At immediate risk. But simply standing around saying you don't want Israel to exist, as much as I hate that, as much as I think it's threatening and is intimidating, my advice is to the parents of the Jewish kids, get the F out of there. Demand a refund and stop paying for it. And tell your kid they shouldn't go into debt for the rest of their life to an institution where they are actively teaching those ideas, first of all, and supporting them. And then you say, well, Deb, aren't you then calling for a ban? Well, if it were a private school, think about this. If a college in Florida were completely private like Hillsdale, I'd have no qualms about them banning it because it's private. Just like you don't have to teach that Jesus Christ is someone's Lord and Savior inside of a synagogue. Those rights are sacrosanct in private spaces. You can ban whatever activity you want in a private space. In a public space, the only justification for banning something is that you're using public money to do it. But, and this is where they will probably lose their lawsuit, you must give equal treatment. So now they can come on the side of the SJP people and say, then ban the pro-Israeli groups because we find them threatening. We think they're intimidating and they cause us trauma. That you have Hillel House and you have all these things to get them off campus. So maybe they will. And the same with homeschooling. Oh, well, you don't want a madrasa to receive these funds, or you don't want them to teach about these ideas because it's under the banner of terrorism. Well, you get somebody in office who doesn't like Christians or doesn't like Jews or happens to prefer Muslims, and they'll be like, all right, fine, ban it all you want. But we're also going to ban this other thing. We don't want people, teaching these ideas. And once you've legitimized that as a thing government can do at all, and once you've legitimized them being able to have a say in homeschooling via money or not, even without school choice. Right now, we also already have restrictions on what we do. But you attach it to something called the War on Terror, where they now have all this Patriot Act nonsense and authorizations. You attach it to that. They don't even need to wait for school choice. School choice is going to just make it way easier. I'm telling you that you have to fight both. You have to fight on two fronts. You have to fight the War on Terror, rules to protect your right to say what you want in your own home to your kids, to continue to homeschool, because if they come at it and say, we don't want this group of people to homeschool or go to a private school like a madrasa and say these ideas, I guarantee you the very next lawsuit, the very next thing it's going to be is going to be against homeschoolers teaching Christianity, teaching whatever other things, and then the government's only recourse, and this is of course what they want, so they hope we do it. In other words, they hope that people complain and whine and cry. Well, they do it, then I should do it. Fine, a pox on all your houses and none of you get to do it. That's what the government really wants. The government really wants all of this to be under their purview. Fine, no more homeschooling. Then we don't have to have an argument about it. No more lawsuits back and forth. No more, I want this and I want that. No more political campaigns that have to be, whatever. So nobody gets to do it. And now you have the unenviable task of having to go to the Supreme Court again, and fight for it. And that's an uphill battle when we look at the landscape. And you might say, Deb, that's incredibly paranoid and that's incredibly unlikely that they'd go all the way to ban homeschooling. Well, I'll tell you this. The federal government won't do it. Your state government will do it. Just as they've banned guns. Be like, guns aren't banned. Aren't they, though? Massachusetts, California, Illinois, Washington, D.C., places like that. How hard is it, even with your constitutional right to bear arms, how hard is it to actually do it? Now, how many people currently are saying, it's too hard for me to homeschool? Or how many people are going to say, I don't have the requisite credentials, because they already have in some states, you have to have, education background, or you have to have a college degree. How many people are going to say, I don't have that? And it's already hard for me to homeschool. Now I have to submit my curriculum. Now I have to fill out paperwork every month. Now I have to, submit to a background check to prove I'm not a member of any of these 10 different potentially terroristic organizations in order to homeschool my kids, because John Oliver thinks I need a background check, and the war on terror and the people on the right agree. The Republicans who think we've got to prevent terrorism agree. I have to prove I'm not this, that, or that. And they can't say you have to prove you're not Muslim. Now you have to prove you just aren't preaching these kinds of ideas. Well, after a while, people are like, forget it. The same people are already saying it's too hard to homeschool now are not going to say it's easier with more regulations. So they don't have to literally ban it. They just have to regulate the living daylights out of it to the point where it becomes a thing almost no one can do, except the elite, except the rich, except well-funded Muslim individuals or organizations who are getting their money from abroad. But then it will be called a madrasa, a private school, which probably will still be able to exist. And then the only thing you'll have to say then is like, well, won't they just ban private schools? No, because as long as they don't take government money at all, like Hillsdale, and they stay well-funded, even by foreign entities, I can do whatever the hell I want. So it then becomes a contest of money. Is that what you want? You want to get to the point where average people, middle-class people with no, really no means to sue, no means to start their own school, etc., keep going down the path of trying to shut down different ideas or, get government money, school money, and you'll end up without homeschooling, having to send your kids to a private school that's totally private, takes no government money, which means it's going to be massively expensive and likely out of business, unless it's getting money from some private source that is just like floating in cash. I mean, even Hillsdale's like hanging on because they take no money at all. That's why they're so tiny. That's why there's one campus. That is why there aren't 30, 40 Hillsdale campuses all over the country, like we wish there were, so our kids could get a proper college education if they're not going out to be, doctors and lawyers. Maybe even if they are, you can get a liberal arts education and go do those things too. It used to be that way. There's one campus, one and only one, and it has a limited number of spots, and they take $0. And they don't even have the loan system in place. So, we all wish there were more, but that's going to take a lot more money. So, there you have it. And some would argue that even Hillsdale, with their charter schools, are kind of getting a little bit in bed at the K-12 level with the government in the hope that they can get a student body to come and keep their college alive. Because if they are just left with the pool of students coming out of K-12, and if all they have are the kids from homeschooling, not all of whom want to either go to college or go to Hillsdale, because they're not all conservative, they're not all not liberal, let's say, not left leaning, then they don't survive either. So it's kind of a race against time and race against government's ability to regulate. But that's where we come in as individuals. that we have to help them fight, and we have to fight individually against school choice, against war on terror laws. We have to vote for people who look at this stuff the same way we do and say, wait. No. Enforce the laws we have against individuals doing bad things to individuals. They vandalize the place, they should be arrested. They make a direct threat on somebody's life, they should be investigated to the fullest extent of the law and possibly arrested for incitement. But if they're just sitting in their Sunday school saying all kinds of heinous things, there's really nothing we can do. There just isn't. Just keep it contained. Don't give them money. But we have equality under the law in America, so if we give money to some people's private schools via ESAs and vouchers, we have to give it to all. And if you say, well, put in some hate speech laws, well, if this is hate speech, then you elect somebody else who's going to say your speech is hate speech. And round we go. There's no limit to it. Stay in the realm of ideas and principles, and that is how you protect homeschooling. Because there's nothing more principled, nothing more representative of individual liberty than homeschooling without government oversight of it. It is nothing more than parenting. We should even stop calling it homeschooling. What you're fighting for is the right to parent your own children from birth to adulthood. That is what you're really fighting for. You're not fighting to school them at home, because that is already buying into the notion that you have to ask permission to educate your own kids, which was not the rule till the late 1800s. It became the law, and now we operate in that mindset. I need to keep homeschooling. No, you need to keep parenting. You need to keep parenting. That's the difference. So I hope this has been helpful. I hope this explains how the war on terror, yes, I'm using scare quotes on purpose, puts your homeschooling at greater risk than school choice by itself. And you need to fight on both fronts. It's not enough to fight school choice. And you might think, what do you mean fight school choice? I'm like, fight for education liberty. Argue against giving the government more access to more dollars to fund private institutions. Try to represent the principled argument to people who are for it. Don't vote for candidates for whom, that's their big thing. That's their only education reform platform is school choice. In other words, Republicans. The vast majority of them, yes. And I get a lot of hate for this. Like, Dad, we can put guards in place. We can make good bills. Really? I'm sorry. I've yet to see Republicans be able to hold any of this at bay. I've not seen it. We just keep going deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. Okay, so that's what I would say about that. Thank you so much for listening. The replay of this will be available in the resources forum channel in the Discord. If you are a member, if you're not a member of the Discord, if you're watching this as a member of YouTube, thank you for being a member of YouTube. I would invite you to consider shifting your membership over there so you can take advantage of the ability to promo your own work if you have work of your own, to communicate with other people like yourself in the chat, to participate in community calls twice a week if you like. They're also held at 1 p.m. on Tuesday and Thursday. And to have a one-stop shop for all my latest content, because I put links to it in one place. So whether you like to read or listen or watch, whatever, the links will be there. And as important, you get discounted merchandise, as well as more of your support dollar goes to me. On YouTube, they get a really nice, huge chunk of it. So while I greatly appreciate your support as YouTube members, I would be able to appreciate it more through the Discord, through Woke Screen. So if you're watching this as a YouTube member, just something to consider. I have the link down below. You can check it out. To my Discord members, thank you for being here, and I will see you on Friday with another show. Have a great day.